Well, hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, I want to share with you 15 tiny ways that you can simplify your life. And I am a big believer that the best and most sustainable path to long-term change isn't by completely trying to overhaul your life in a day, but instead by making small, subtle changes and building upon them day by day. I love how author James Clear illustrates this concept in his book, Atomic Habits. He says to imagine that you're flying in a plane from LA to New York City. If at the beginning of your flight, the pilot adjusts the plane's heading, its direction, by just 3.5 degrees south, you're going to end up landing in Washington, D.C. rather than New York. And that's such a small change that as a passenger in the plane, we wouldn't even notice it as it was happening. But that slight change would bring us to an entirely different destination. And I think that really speaks to the power of small shifts in our own life. Sometimes those tiny changes that we make, those subtle shifts, really can alter and completely transform the course of our life. And so today I want to share with you 15 small changes that you can make in your own life to help head in the direction of simplicity. So if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button below. And a big thank you to Babbel for sponsoring today's video. And then let's get started with the first small change that you can make, and that's to organize your digital files. I think our digital space is often an area that many of us neglect when we go through the process of simplifying our lives. And that's because the sheer number of photos, videos, and files that we may have stored on our phones and computers can just feel absolutely overwhelming. And so rather than beginning with the seemingly impossible task of trying to tackle it all at once, what I'd recommend is to begin small. Start by just organizing all of that data into folders and group like items together. That way, when you're ready to start tackling those files and actually go through and deleting and decluttering them, you kind of have it segmented into smaller areas that are going to be a lot more manageable for you to tackle. So then maybe you can start going through your pictures from a trip to Italy one day or tax documents from 2020 another. You can just kind of go through and figure out, okay, what's necessary, what are the things that I want to keep, and what can I delete? Because honestly, the vast majority of the information that we tend to store on our devices is not necessary to keep long term. Okay, and then the second small way that you can simplify is to contain it. One of the biggest reasons that different areas of our home can look or feel messy is that the items that we have in those areas don't actually have a home. Or if they do, it's a very generic one. We might decide that our scissors, our tape measure, our ruler, some stamps, a couple pens all belong in our junk drawer. But that's actually a very vague area, and without them actually having a specific home in that drawer, it's an area that can easily become very messy. And the same thing can go for the drawers in our kitchens, bathrooms, desks, and so on. And so a great way to bring some organization and simplicity to these spaces is to give everything a specific home within that larger area, whether it's a drawer, a cabinet, a surface, or whatever. So something that I like to do is just to use little boxes that you can buy at Target, at the dollar store, the Container Store. I'll link to some of my favorites below, but it's to use little boxes to be able to further divide the area and give everything kind of a home within the larger home. And then number 3 is to have staple meals. Have a written out list of go-to meals that you already know that you love that you can just reference as you're deciding what to have for dinner or planning your meals for the week. This is something that I like to keep as a note on my phone, and I just find it so nice and easy to be able to quickly, at a glance, kind of be reminded of what are some of my favorite meals, the ones that I know are going to be a hit every time. If, like me, you've ever struggled with the question, what are we going to have for dinner? This really is one of the easiest things that you can do to help solve that problem. Then number 4 is to consolidate your schedule. Try grouping like activities together to save time and effort. And this is an easy way to make sure that you're maximizing your time while minimizing your effort. So if you know you have several errands to do in a specific area of town during the week, instead of making multiple trips on different days to go back and forth doing them, try batching them together and plan out your schedule in a way that allows you to do all of them at once. So this can be a great one for things like running errands or going out, but you can also apply this to your work or to cleaning. Maybe it could be something as simple as just grouping all of your meetings together on a particular day so you can kind of knock them all out at once. But then moving on, number 5 is to break larger tasks down into smaller parts. And I love the saying, how do you climb a mountain? one step at a time. I think there are a lot of goals, dreams, and desires that we have for ourselves that can just seem so daunting because of the scale of them. But just like the secret is to climb a mountain step by step, the key to being able to hit and to reach some of these huge and exciting goals that we have for ourselves is to, again, break it down into smaller parts and to tackle each one by one. And so the next time you have a big goal or a big dream that you want to accomplish, figure out how you can divide it down into smaller, bite-sized chunks that you can focus on accomplishing one by one. When we break that one massive task up into 1,000 small steps, suddenly each one becomes infinitely more doable, and over time, we will be able to, in the end, reach our goal. So break it down and then just focus on what is the next step in front of me today. All right, and we've got so many more amazing ways that you can simplify your life coming up, but before we continue, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Babbel. And if you've never heard of it before, Babbel is an amazing language learning app that teaches you real-world, practical conversations. And Christopher and I are hoping to go on a trip to France later this year, so I wanted an easy and simple way to be able to brush up on my French. Plus, just generally, this is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time because knowing and learning another language really is just one of those things that enriches and grows you so much as a person. And what I love about Babbel and really why they're my favorite language learning app is they take what we were just talking about and breaking big tasks into smaller pieces, and they really apply that to language. They have short, 10-minute interactive lessons that really keep you interested and engaged. And what's so cool about Babbel too is that the content that you're learning is designed for real-world, practical conversations. So you're learning so much more than just vocab. And so I really am just so excited to be able to actually use what I learned on our upcoming travels. I've even been practicing my go-to food order. Here's a little sample of what I've been learning. Salut, puis-je avoir un café au lait et un pain au chocolat? That's definitely going to be a frequent order while I'm in France. But what's cool about Babbel too is that they give you so many different ways that you can learn. They have lessons, podcasts, games, videos, and live classes that are all designed to help you learn. Plus, they now offer a 20-day money-back guarantee. So if you're wanting to learn a new language, I cannot recommend Babbel enough. It's a great way that you can work on yourself in 2022, and it's one of those small things that you can do that really can help you to grow. So if you want to try out Babbel for yourself, you can get 65% off your Babbel subscription, and yes, you did hear me right, 65%. You can get 65% off using the link in the description box below. So I definitely recommend checking Babbel out, but now let's continue on with number 6, and that's to use substitutions. I find that it's quite common for certain recipes to have ultra-specific or very niche ingredients that they'll call for in a recipe. And one easy way to simplify is whenever you encounter this, rather than automatically going out and buying that ultra-specific ingredient that you might use once or twice before kind of shoving it into a corner of your pantry to be forgotten forever, so rather than going out and automatically buying that, instead see if there are any substitutions that you might have already in your home that you can use instead. Often, half a dozen good substitution options are just a Google search away. And what that allows you to do is just to work from the staple ingredients that you already have, rather than going out and buying something new every single time you run into an ingredient that you don't already have. Then number 7 is to write it down. If you often find that you have different thoughts and ideas swirling around in your head that are hindering your ability to focus, maybe your ability to sleep, or just simply they're kind of distracting you from whatever the task is that you have at hand, writing them down, either physically or on your phone, can be a great way to get them out of your head so that you can focus and be present. And this is something that I've personally found to be really helpful, because there are definitely times when I just can't seem to let a thought go so I can focus on my work. And so I found that just writing down those thoughts really helps signal to my brain, it's okay, we've noted this, we're going to come back to it. And it kind of lets me to put that down for the time being so I can handle it at a later time and then to focus on the present task. And so this is just one of those small tricks that I found that can help us to kind of clear the mental clutter in our heads. Then number 8 is a simple one. Use the do not disturb setting or the airplane mode on your phone. Use it liberally, use it often. I'm a big fan of this one because every time a notification goes off, it distracts us, it removes our focus from whatever we were trying to engage in. whether that's deep work, a conversation, a meeting, hangs with friends, whatever it is, my goal in those situations and in those settings is to be fully present in the moment. And when we're constantly receiving notifications and reminders, it hinders our ability to do so. So just try to get in the habit of whenever you're in a situation where you want to be fully focused and fully present, just turn on the do not disturb feature. All right, number 9 is to get rid of duplicates. And duplicates or even triplicates of many items, whether that's clothing, kitchen utensils, household items, or anything else, can kind of tend to creep into our home without us even noticing them. And not only do they take up valuable space in our homes, but more often than not, we typically favor one over the others anyways. And so one of the easiest ways that you can simplify your home is just to do a quick audit of your life to identify any areas where you might have duplicates and then to keep only your favorite item. You can donate or pass on the rest and then commit to not accumulating more in the future. I've said it so many times on this channel already, but replace, don't accumulate is a great motto to follow when it comes to duplicates and triplicates in your home. Okay, then number 10 is the one-touch rule. And this is a concept that was actually first shared with me by a subscriber, but it's essentially the idea that every time you touch an item, you should only touch it once. So once you use something, you should immediately put it back in its proper place. So for example, with dishes, if you use a plate and some cutlery for lunch, once you've finished your meal, rather than putting it in your sink to then later be put in the dishwasher, you should spend a few moments rinsing off the plate if needed, and then immediately putting it in the dishwasher. That way, you're not touching the item multiple times. And this is one of those tips that's so simple, and I think for a lot of us should feel like, okay, yeah, well, obviously, but it's so funny to me how often we, or at least I, don't follow through with it. And so personally, this one-touch rule is a habit that I'm currently trying to develop, and I really have seen some amazing results in a pretty short period of time, but I'm excited to continue with it. Then next, 11 is to choose versatile clothing. And picking versatile clothing really is one of the best ways that you can kind of work smarter, not harder, when it comes to your wardrobe. If you have versatile clothing items that mix and match well with each other, you really can do so much more with a more minimal wardrobe. And one easy way to determine if an item of clothing is going to be versatile or not in your wardrobe is when you're looking to purchase an item, try to think of 5 other outfits or 5 other clothing items that the item you're considering buying could pair well with. If you can think of 5 items, that's great. If you can think of 10, that's even better. But at the end of the day, if you want to get the most out of your wardrobe, finding items that complement and go well with each other really is the key. Okay, number 12 is to check your email once a day. If possible, try to get all of your email reading and writing done in one block of time so that you can focus on other things during the rest of your day. I find that emails can often be big time wasters, especially when we're kind of constantly checking our email throughout the day. And so by kind of dealing with and working through all of your emails for the day at once, it allows you to kind of block all of your emails together so that you can free up time throughout the rest of the day to more fully focus on different tasks. Now, I totally understand that if emails are a large part of your job, you might need to modify this slightly. But one alternative that you can try out is to spend a period of time in your morning responding to emails, and then before you finish work for the day, again, spend another chunk of time responding to emails then. That way, you're kind of bookending your day with emails and leaving the middle free for whatever else you might have to do. Then number 13 is another quick one, and that's just to share a grocery list. If you live with other people, whether that's family, roommates, a spouse, whatever, this one can really be a game changer. Have a shared list on your phone that both of you can add to at any time. By having a list that's ongoing and that everyone participates in, it's an easy way to make sure that nothing gets forgotten. Plus, I find that it makes grocery shopping a whole lot easier because I'm not trying to come up with this massive list right before I go to the store. It's something that we've kind of worked on over the past few days typically, so that when I go grocery shopping, I can just kind of head out. If I stop by the store on the way home, I can pick up exactly what we need, and it just kind of removes some of like the stress and the confusion out of grocery shopping. All right, and we've got 2 left here. Number 14 is to do it now. If there's something that you notice that needs doing and it's going to take less than a minute to do it now, not later. I think it's really easy for us to sometimes put those small things off because they don't seem that significant, and we just say, okay, I can do it later. But the thing is, those small tasks add up over time to become big ones. So if you see something that needs doing, do it now while it's small and it's still manageable. This is an easy way to keep your home so much more tidy and your life just generally more organized. And then finally, number 15 is to make it easier. If there's a big change that you want to make, whether that's with your habits or your lifestyle, figure out how you might be able to make that a bit more simple and a bit easier. Often there are various small roadblocks and barriers to the habits that we want to create. And so to make that process of habit formation easier, see what you can do to remove those barriers. So real talk, this is a very practical, of the moment example for me. Recently, with it being winter and it just being really cold and gray outside a lot lately, I've been having a really hard time getting out of bed, staying in bed for 30 minutes to an hour after my alarm goes off. I'm not even on my phone or anything. I'm literally just sitting under the covers trying to stay warm. That's just real life, how it's been for me for the past few weeks, but it's something that I'm wanting to change. And so in the past week or so, one tiny change that I've made to make that habit of getting out of bed right as I get up, to make that easier, I've started just putting my phone, instead of on my bedside table, on the other side of the room, out of reach. That way, in order to turn off my alarm as it goes off in the morning, I need to physically get out of bed. And this really is such a small and subtle change. I'm literally just moving my phone 5 feet away from my bed. But what that's done is it's given me kind of the incentive and the motivation to actually get out of bed when my alarm goes off, instead of staying there for 30 minutes. So obviously this one is going to be unique to you and depend a lot on what habits you're trying to create, but figure out if there are small shifts that you can make to make those habits that you want to form easier. All right, well that's it. Those are 15 tiny ways that you can begin to simplify your life today. And my hope is really that these ideas help motivate and inspire you to simplify your life and to live better. Now, I would love to know though, what's one small thing that you've done to simplify your life and what impact has it had? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear about it. And as a quick reminder, don't forget that you can get 65% off your Babbel subscription using the link in the description box below. Thank you all so much for watching though. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one.